Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for Workday Chats. I'm Kelly Emo, and I will be your host for today's discussion. Before we get started, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions, feel free to share them in the comments below. So today, I'm joined by Scott Buth, Director of Modern Work Customer Success at Microsoft, Colin Forth, Vice President of Customer Experience Strategy, Operations, and Enablement at Workday, and Josh Lannin, Vice President of Products at Workday. You know, if there's anything we saw in 2020, we saw how valuable it is to have collaboration tools as we all move to remote work across the board. And collaboration tools are so vital to drive projects forward, to keep people connected, and to have a place where we can share ideas and turn ideas into action. So I'm really excited today to have this conversation with you all to talk about the evolving role of IT and how collaboration tools are really shaping and changing the world of work. So with that setup, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with a broad perspective. I want to start out with really kind of taking a look back and thinking back about what are some of the new expectations that have been born out of this unusual last year that are really impacting today's IT leaders. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the ball first over to Colin to add his perspective over the last year. So go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. I think things have changed a lot over the last year, and especially for today's IT leaders. If you think back to what we were working on 18 months ago, it was all about scale. It was about moving data back and forth between systems that were rich in their capabilities in terms of being able to go deep. They were niche systems that were connected sort of through back-end components. There was sort of, I would say, some lip service given to, hey, let's make it easy for people to operate, but we were still relying on people being in office and being able to get help and connected, and thinking about things like physical help desks that people would go up to. So there was a lot of sort of reliance on the connections that people were making normally within the work environment in the office. When that shifted, it got straight into operations consistency. Like, can we figure out how to make the business work in a remote environment, and can we keep it up and make all the connection points work? As we sort of went through that first phase of survive, I think we moved into this age where we said, hey, you know what? These collaboration tools, which we thought of as being really nice before, are actually very vital. And I think it goes back into a couple of core components. We needed to move data to have the business run correctly, and we needed people to communicate efficiently back and forth to make their jobs easier as they work in that data. So I think there's been a huge shift about just around ease of use and connection of people, to put a human component on top of what I would say was the IT environment that we had built before, so people can feel better about where we are today in how we're connecting together.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, anything you want to add to the broader kind of perspective based on the work you've been doing with all these collaboration tools?
Yeah, to build on what Colin was just reflecting, I think to build a human-centric platform, it's a lot about eliminating friction and enabling people to be much more agile in terms of how, when, and where they work. And meeting people in these digital workspaces really provides more efficiency, more seamless, effortless work. And so it's just these use cases like the manager who's sitting in his car waiting to pick up his kids from school that can approve a time off request then and there coming out of a work day. And maybe if he has a question for that person who's requesting time off about who's going to cover an important meeting, can he just start a chat and get it done? Or does he need to wait till he gets back to his desktop to make it happen? It's really about effortlessness when it comes to these kind of essential experiences that's been really profoundly important in the last year, so that people can sort of be at their best, whatever they're needing to do at that time.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Definitely the effortless part of it. And, you know, we've seen a really rapid adoption of these collaboration tools, probably faster than we expected to see it in the market. Scott, from your perspective with Microsoft, what have you seen in terms of changes with IT and in adoption of these kinds of tools?
Sure. Well, certainly the situation around hybrid workplace has created a situation where we need to embrace more flexibility in terms of where people work, where they work, and how they work. We actually did a survey recently as part of our work trend index that indicated that 70% of people want more flexible remote work options, while 65% are craving more in-person time with their teams. So we've really created a paradox in terms of employees want the best of both worlds. And from Microsoft's perspective, our goal is to really enable meeting experiences where everyone can be seen and heard and contribute, no matter where they are, or whether it's asynchronous work or we're collaborating together. And as somebody who's been at Microsoft, a remote person this entire time, we're living that mindset. And tools like Teams has certainly leveled the playing field for me and my colleagues to be able to collaborate more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. You guys are all talking about the surprises and the rapid adoption of collaboration and the changes that the pandemic brought on us. And I couldn't help but think of all the surprises that we all experienced. Like, who knew the Peloton would become the #1 piece of equipment for exercise? So it definitely.
Who knew that I'd ever get on one, Kelly? I mean, that was even more of a surprise.
Exactly. And people are collaborating on their Peloton. So with that in mind, I'd love to double click a little bit more on what does this look like? What are the kinds of interactions that we're seeing that people are really resonating towards, and how is that helping people collaborate as they're working remotely? So maybe I'll kick that one back over to Josh to talk a little bit more about the use cases in Workday that we're seeing really getting traction in this kind of an environment.
Thanks, Kelly. I mean, we think about it in a layered way. I think there are, kind of table stakes capabilities that the everyday employee or everyday manager expect to be able to do, very easily, so whether that's taking time off or doing an expense report or finding out, more information about a coworker. These are kind of capabilities that we've heard from our customers are sort of that essential mix that they're looking to automate and make very seamless. But kind of moving up, I think as we've gotten farther into this time frame, companies are contending with broader journeys and perspectives. What does it look like to now be bringing new people into the organization who are never going to go to the office, and make sure they have a smooth onboarding experience and are introduced to the right training or learning opportunities and right connections in the organization? What's it mean for someone transitioning from being an individual contributor to a manager? And how are we going to also get them that knowledge and expertise that's going to be essential for them in a way, like Colin said, that maybe in the past was happening through an in-person event. Now, how do we provide that in the digital realm? And so again, there's sort of a base set of capabilities that are sort of table stakes expectations that we're seeing, but a lot of opportunity to do a lot more as we contend with sort of living in this new world of work. Absolutely. And Colin, I'm curious from your perspective, with all you've seen internally for us at Workday, what kind of have you seen as sort of the big drivers there with our employee base?
Yeah, I think for me there, so I'll give you two sort of examples. One is sort of the new reality that a lot of us are working from home, and we're potentially weren't used to it, and there were some advantages that were stripped away. And what we have been able to do then is replicate some of the goodness that would have been there. So we are able to, I can use your example, Josh. When we're talking about onboarding, we wanted to make sure that we had a high quality experience, and we had in-person classes that we moved to different components to deliver part of it remotely and through live video, and then some of it through product we call Workday Journeys, which is basically the ability to let people start when they're ready to consume information, consume it at their pace, and then come back to it and consume the rest of it when they want to, but to sort of track their progress along that. And the nice part about that is it allows us to be consistent in what we're providing people, so we know that it's the right quality of information, but it kind of replicates the in-office experience of when you would talk to your manager and say, hey, I'm ready for this next part of my component now. What do I do? And you'd have the conversation. This has got it sort of waiting for you in line there. So I think that's one of the things we've been able to shift to. And then philosophically, I think one of the ways we're trying to set up these experiences is to think about the person sitting at home alone in a desk, and to go back to what Josh said before, remove a little bit of friction, right? To actually give them a hand on the back when there is something coming up that they need to pay attention to, and they need to be alerted to it. So, I missed some training the other day, and I was re-alerted as I came in this morning that I'm supposed to get some training done in a certain period of time. And I often don't know where to go look to know that information in the past, but now I know that I can come in to my my Workday homepage, and I get told, hey, you've got this to get done. Here's a click to go take care of it. It doesn't seem like a lot, but in a world where we're getting hit with all kinds of information in different places, it's pretty comforting to know that through a lot of different avenues, I can get that same info. So I don't have to be exactly right on how I go search for that, but I know that it's going to lead back to a system that's going to tell me what I'm looking for. That's just a little lighter day, right, for me, because then I feel like even though I may be a little more isolated from being able to go to my neighbor at the next cube and ask how to do this, I can find the information. So I think we're really trying to get to that place where the infrastructure and IT system support feels like a proactive helping hand, and not just a set of information that potentially you could mine to go figure out what you needed to do your job well.
Yeah, it's kind of,
Colin, yeah.
go for it.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think, when COVID-19 started, there was a rush, obviously, to enable people to meet remotely and collaborate on documents and things of that nature. But as we've seen, rapid acceleration of teams, and meetings will continue to be an important part of what we offer. We've also seen that need as well in terms of that ability to collaborate, flex across time zones, asynchronous work, and then also while allowing people to continue to focus on what they need to do and be able to offer things like training and other business critical applications and data available to them in the flow of their work. And so that's where we see the opportunity with Teams as an enabler of that very situation as we go forward.
Yeah, and what really resonated me about when we were talking with Microsoft around the partnership with Teams is that in the Teams surface, you have this kind of consolidated place to work with your business systems, to work with other people, to have video and text, synchronous and asynchronous, as you put it, kind of interactions, and it's all in one place. And we sort of saw like the average person is spending so much time, in these tools, and they have to manage that, but it's at least a consolidated kind of place to go to be, where you can be found and where you can get things done. And there's a lot of value to that. And one of the things that we've noticed is rather than sort of putting the expectation that you have to learn, a dozen different tools and how to get to them and how to authorize and how to get access to things, pulling that all together really kind of lightens that load and makes it a more connected place to be.
Yeah, it's the great points. I think with the whole move to remote, people were dealing with so many things, so many changes, that having an IT environment that helps guide them and nudges them and makes it easier for people just to find what they need rather than to have to remember, oh, I go here, I go there. That's so vital. So with that in mind, I wanted to also explore the role of collaboration tools as we start thinking about returning to work, and how they can continue to, be valuable in that scenario, and where are some of the ways that maybe people aren't necessarily thinking about how collaboration tools can really help with return to office as well as remote. So I'll throw that one out there, and maybe Colin, you want to start that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a literal guy, so I can talk about the actual return to work portion, and then I think we can let Josh and Scott talk about how when we come back to work, it's not going to be the same, because the paradox that Scott pointed out is that we'll be back in the office and some people won't be back in the office, and we're all going to be working together. So it's going to be a different environment. But just the sort of the literal component coming back to work, one of the nice things that we've been able to do, because we've got some interoperability, like Josh was talking about with different components for the information, is build a system that allows us to figure out who wants to come back, so we can do some capacity planning, when they want to come back, and then tie that to using our mobile application. We're allowing them to basically tell us on a daily basis how they're feeling in terms of their health, and if they are going to come back and follow the protocols that we've got. And when they do that, we can unlock the door to the office that they're supposed to be in and know that their seat is ready to go. So at a very sort of tactile level, we're allowing people to get in the door by going through all the components that they have to in a kind of easy way. And I was really excited the first day that we opened the office to come back for this. So I, of course, decided I was coming into the office to test the new technology that we built around this. Ran up to the door for the meeting and it was locked. And then I realized I hadn't put in my daily health attestation, and was able to pull out my phone and do it. And it worked as advertised. But I think about how much friction that reduced for me, right? It basically allowed me to fill out all the paperwork I needed to and take make the attestation that I needed to on my timeline, standing outside the door without a computer. And then hearing it click open. It was sort of a real affirmation about the way we want to use the technology and data we have about people and places to protect the company and to protect each other, but also reduce friction to actually let me work the way that I wanted to work. And I'm sure I could have gone back to the car and taken that call on the phone too, to Josh's point, and been able to transact in system for that too. But it's just nice to have that flexibility and feel like I was enabled by the technology and not constrained by it.
That's a great story. And Josh, you want to add a little something on the thought of returning to work and the role of technology and collab tools?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a terrific story, and having a good experience in that return, and for the people that are remote still, is key to kind of rebuilding this experience that we want of coming together and adapting to how it's going to be a bit different. And technology at its best can really remove those roadblocks, even for something as new as something we never thought we'd do before, like self-attest to our health before badging in, and now it's no big deal, right? I mean, it's just easy, and so that's really great. We think a lot about how collaborative tools can really help get us out of a kind of highly focused but highly narrow work-centered environment that we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months. A lot of the challenge that we see is, while teams have been very productive, people are a bit burnt out, and some of the kind of bridging connections that exist across teams and organizations have gotten a little frayed because they relied on serendipity and meeting people, sort of in the moment around a cafeteria or a food truck to sort of, get connections being built. And so, return to work will help with that. And, whether it's planning coming back into the office or making digital connections, we know that's going to be an increasing focus as we get into this hybrid work environment, is sort of those bridging connections as well that need to happen across an organization to really, plan and move forward into the future. And I think what's interesting too is, and Scott, maybe over to you, is that Microsoft, you've been studying all these changes in the workplace, and so because you're operating at such a sense of scale, like you've just seen these shifts in how people are working that are very insightful and allow us to think about where things are going too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the past year and a half has definitely taught us that meeting fatigue, digital overload, these are real challenges that employees and customers need to deal with. And when we think about our collaboration tools, we need to think about them beyond just being productive and being able to collaborate, but actually helping employers keep their people connected to the company culture, offer them learning opportunities, and support their overall well-being. And so Absolutely. I mean, certainly we talk a lot about Teams as a tool to enable that type of remote work, hybrid work support, but that's also why we've developed the first integrated employee experience platform, specifically with Microsoft Viva, and we're excited that Workday, is a strategic partner with us on Viva as well, because we see that being able to support the well-being of employees, making information more accessible is critical to their day-to-day productivity and the company's overall development of their culture and onboarding and retaining great talent.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great conversation with the Viva Insights team, and one of the really interesting things they shared with us was that one of the big predictors for employee attrition was managers not having one-on-ones with their team members. And so that opportunity to sort of recognize that digitally and sort of nudge a manager like, oh, you really don't want to miss a couple one-on-ones. Like that's a risk, for your team, for the individuals on there, like, and making them aware of something that they might not otherwise be aware of can really help an organization, in the whole. And so it is sort of like seeing those patterns, and then how do we turn that into an actionable thing that can happen for an employer, for a manager to make it better, is just super exciting.
Yeah, and going back to the conversation about how technology enables this, I mean, even just subtle, innovation between Workday and Microsoft to create, distinct views for a manager and for an employee when they log into their Workday in Teams app, will help promote these types of small but yet super impactful activities and reminders, that go a long way in terms of ensuring strong employee experiences and the culture of the company remain strong.
Yeah, that's really a great point, and starting to look at the future of where these collaboration tools are going. I know for me personally, my wish list is that my collaboration tools and Workday will know when I need another espresso and be connected to a 3D printer that will then create one for me. So that's my wish list. But anyway,
it might take a little while to get on a roadmap, Kelly, but I like the idea.
I'm going to put it out there. Connect it to the espresso machine.
We have a great developer ecosystem. I'm sure there's somebody out there who can build that for you.
Sweet. I think that's a good segue to kind of think now about like, where is this going? So based on, the data that you're seeing, you've already mentioned a few things like this ability to correlate that, employee attrition is one of the things that connects to is interaction with the manager and be able to nudge for one-on-ones. What do you guys think are some of the future opportunities for collaboration tools? Where do you think this could go as we look out beyond just COVID and return to work? Kind of throw that out to the group.
I'll throw out an idea. I mean, I think Josh alluded to it before. We see that actually people's productivity and their connections to their direct teams has gone way up during COVID, because you're talking to people all the time, and people, I think, took advantage of what was there to really get focused on work. That was tiring to some extent, and there have been frayed connections across the larger team components at large companies, and so the overall execution of strategy has been harder to do because you don't have all the parts working together. So with a lot of the experiential data that we're putting together, there are chances to build networks of connections and so that we can sort of see connection graphs of how people are connecting. And with that, you can see where things are strong and you can see where things are weak, and you can begin to build nudges to creating cross connection, right? So that don't rely just on being in the office, but you could actually graph out where people should be connecting more if we're going to be stronger as an organization, and then figure out nudges to get people to do that. So I think the more that we rely on data and these interactions together, the more that we can help understand the big pictures that we might be missing through all the small data parts by looking at it together.
And building on that, I think career development and understanding talent and performance, is again something that has suffered and wasn't too noticeable, maybe in the throes of like just keeping things moving. But this notion that we're still in a fast moving world. There are a lot of things we need to do to respond to the demands of our customers. And to do that, we need to have the right people with the right skills ready to be in those roles. And so, there will be increasing investment, I think, in digital technology around learning and insights and career development to make sure that like your organization is growing and evolving. And not kind of in static mode, and so that you can be responsive to those strategic imperatives that exist within your company, and make sure you're kind of moving your people in the right direction as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think adding on to that, I mean, agree with both of those perspectives. I think creating more of a collaboration first approach and experience. To where you're able to bring a lot of these tools and data systems together under a connected platform that allows people to truly access it from anywhere. And as people become more mobile again, it becomes essential to be able to access that in a more mobile way, but also allows IT to be secure in terms of who's accessing that information. So I think that'll obviously continue to play a role, and we believe that our platform brings the best of these things together and allows all of the the tools that Josh and Colin spoke to from a Workday perspective to come to life in one place.
Yeah, great point. I mean, that combination of having the tools in the right place, people engaging with them, getting nudged to engage with them so they collaborate and engage even more, but also having that IT confidence that you're in a secure platform. I think that's a really good point. We're kind of almost to the 30-minute mark. I want to just see if there's any last comments, anything I didn't bring up that you wanted to mention about just as an IT leader, how to think about really getting full benefit out of your collaboration tools, anything about getting ready for even broader use, or any last minute comments. I'll just kind of open up the floor and see if anyone has any last remaining thoughts to leave with our audience.
Sure, I'll go ahead and kick it off. And I think, obviously a lot of what we talked about here is difficult for many customers to navigate. But on the flip side, we've also seen, customers really embrace this and do this, and specifically had some great customers leveraging Teams, leveraging the Workday for Teams app, and are realizing real business outcomes for their organization in terms of, like you mentioned, reducing that friction for their employees, making business data more accessible in the flow of their work, and then also creating a platform for being able to deliver that in a mobile experience as well. And so we've got a number of companies, including a large financial services institution that recently deployed our joint solution to tens of thousands of users, and they're seeing this type of outcome almost immediately. And so I think it's just a great opportunity to leverage those learnings as we really move into this next period of hybrid work.
Great. Great
Yeah,
example.
we've done a lot of work, with Scott and his team to make sure our joint customers can be, getting value very quickly from our solutions. There's a lot of potential in the future, but just the ability to delight people brings some reduction in friction right now to the world of work is really valuable. And, we've been excited to see, even industries where we thought, they might be sort of the last to move, like financial services, sort of like really leaping on. And so we have a great community around this, and sort of, really hope that people who hear this and are interested in sort of maybe taking those first steps, reach out and get started with us. We're excited to take this journey together.
And as Kelly, as Josh just alluded to, this is the fun stuff. And this is where you actually get to make a lot of people happy with a leap step forward in what the ease of use and interaction and sort of benefit for them immediately is. It's not a, it's not a hidden networking project that no one notices the 2%, millisecond improvement you've got on your bandwidth returns. This is kind of the fun stuff in IT.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, all your end users see the immediate benefit and they're not sitting there going, where's my network? So that's a great point. Well, that's great. Great conversation. Really thought you guys brought out some terrific points about kind of the obvious values of collaboration, but also some of the hidden values and the huge potential that the combination of these collaboration tools and capabilities like Workday together can really bring to strengthen the entire way, the way the entire company interacts, not just the individual employee, but employee to teammate, to manager, group to group, and even across the company for ideation. So really good stuff. I want to thank everyone for sharing the time with us, and just thank the audience for their time today. And I also want to let you all know that we're going to dig deeper into this topic on September 16th. We have a Looking Forward with Workday webinar. It's called Thriving in the New World of Work Using Digital Workspaces. And we'll share the link to the webinar in the comments below. So you can go even deeper on how you go about setting this up and what are the benefits you get with that. And with that, I want to encourage you all to join us again for the next episode of Workday Chats. And thanks to Scott, Colin, and Josh for their great insights. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.